There's an old saying in the film industry that goes something along the lines of, you can't polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter. It's a bit crude, but it gets to the heart of something important about movies, and that's that the technical excellence alone isn't enough. You need more than just stunning visuals to make a great film, which brings us neatly to Robert Eggers' new adaptation of Nosferatu. From the very first frame, Eggers demonstrates his mastery of the visual craft. The costumes, sets and props are impeccable. The cinematography is stunning, with careful camera movements and lingering still shots that create beautiful compositions. The film has a monotone aesthetic, and whether you appreciate that or not, it's undeniably accomplished. But I'm sad to say with Nosferatu, as I was looking forward to this one, beneath all that technical excellence lies a surprisingly hollow experience in the end. But what's it all about anyway? Well, Eggers' Nosferatu is based on the seminal 1922 movie Nosferatu: A Symphony of Horror, which was itself loosely based on Bram Stoker's book Dracula. Set in the 1830s, it tells the story of a lonely girl named Ellen, played by Lily Rose Depp, who early in her life requests the presence of a supernatural being to end her solitude, in the process awakening a mysterious creature. Years later, now married in Wisburg, Germany, Ellen's haunted by terrible dreams. Her husband, Thomas, played by Nicholas Hoult, embarks on a perilous journey to sell an old manor to the eerie Count Orlok, Bill Skarsgård, despite Ellen's desperate pleas for him to stay. Thomas encounters ominous events and terrifying experiences at Orlok's castle. Managing to escape, he flees. Meanwhile, Orlok follows, bringing a plague to Wisburg and causing chaos and despair. Ellen, beset by seizures and sleepwalking now, learns from an eccentric scientist, von Franz, played by Willem Dafoe, that Orlok is a demonic vampire known as the Nosferatu. Can Ellen break free from Orlok's grasp, and will Thomas uncover the truth in time to save her and their town? The nature of this film as a remake of a movie based on a very famous book means that unfortunately every beat feels predictable. I've given you a pretty loose synopsis there, but if you were to take 5 minutes to plot out what you think would be the rest of the story, I'd imagine most watching this would get 90% of the way there. The actors and actresses don't exactly help elevate the material either. Nicholas Hoult, of About a Boy fame, delivers a cardboard cutout performance as Thomas. Lily Rose Depp, while impressively mastering an English accent that stands out amongst the many poor attempts I've heard over the years, tends towards overacting with wobbling vocal delivery and excessive sincerity, as well as some pretty funny physical stuff. Even Bill Skarsgård's take on the titular Nosferatu fails to leave much of an impression. The film does benefit from the presence of strong character actors. It's great to see Willem Dafoe, who brings his usual gravitas to every scene. Similarly, Ralph Ineson of The Office and The Green Knight fame appears in a decent length speaking role for once, though you can hear him working hard to suppress his Yorkshire tones for a posher accent. Nosferatu does deserve credit for attempting to subvert some classic horror tropes. Characters generally act logically, taking opportunities to kill threats or escape when they arise. There's also an interesting flip of convention in the final act, with the damsel taking up the monster hunting crusade more so than her husband. But these touches feel somewhat superficial, very 21st century. There might be a tiny theme of it takes a monster to fight a monster with Willem Dafoe's character, but it's not developed enough to really resonate. The pacing is perhaps the film's biggest stumbling block though. The first half of Nosferatu is particularly slow, with scenes dragging on well past their natural endpoint. That said, the editing does show some moments of craft, with clever cuts that echo events in the story. The film does pick up somewhat around the midpoint, where new plot threads are developed to break things up, but by then it's perhaps a case of too little, too late. The horror elements don't particularly land in Nosferatu either. The monster appears so infrequently that it fails to generate real fear. This, of course, worked well in the 1922 original, but feels outmoded here. The film relies heavily on sound effects to create tension, though even these fail to leave an impression. And that brings us back neatly to where we started, really. Robert Eggers and his team have certainly proven their technical prowess in Nosferatu, if they hadn't already in The Lighthouse. It's undeniably a gorgeous film to look at, but all the visual polish in the world can't disguise the fact that underneath it all, the film is simply a rather boring one. Unlike its 1922 predecessor, which we're still discussing a century later, this version seems unlikely to linger in the memory. Sometimes, I guess, it turns out that glitter just isn't enough. Anyway, nothing more to say. This is Movie Maverick, signing out.